In the land of the golden crown, an elder is like a god on earth. But what happens when those gods start stealing from widows and plotting murder in the dark? The news of banishment has hit the streets, and it is not just a rumor anymore. The golden crown elders have been stripped of their glory, but the real shocker is the secret file that was opened, a file containing the blood and tears of a woman who died because of their greed. Why did the council choose the ultimate punishment? A short prayer for you. May every power trying to bury your testimony while you are still alive be cast out by fire. May justice find you where mercy has been denied. Amen. We hold our heritage in high regard, so we use fictitious names for certain sacred rituals and titles. But as you watch, the truth will become as clear as day. The land of the golden crown is currently breathing a different kind of air. It is heavy, it is solemn, and it is filled with the scent of justice. You see, in our tradition, banishment is not a casual thing. You don't just wake up and tell an elder to leave the land because you are angry. Banishment is like a spiritual execution. It is the council saying you are no longer a part of our history, our soil, or our future. For a long time, people thought these elders were untouchable. When the whispers first started that the golden crown elders were considering casting them out, many people laughed. They said no, they will only suspend them. They will only shame them and tell them to go home. But what the public didn't know was that a secret investigation had been going on behind closed doors. It all started when the plot against Queen Naomi and Olori Shadow was exposed. The council initially wanted to be lenient. They started with what we call social banishment. My Crown G's friends and families, if you know our culture, you know this is a punishment that can kill a man faster than a physical weapon. They were stripped of their influence. They would arrive at meetings and the air would turn cold. They would speak and the silence that followed could be cut with a sharp edge. Nobody would look them in the eye. But as soon as the council showed they were willing to act, something miraculous happened. The common people, the ones who had been suffering in silence, found their voices. A floodgate of testimonies opened. It wasn't just about the palace anymore. It was about the small people they had crushed along the way. People started bringing documents, fake agreements, and signatures that were forced out of them. The elders had been using the name of the palace and tradition to redirect community funds into their own private pockets. They were using respect as a shield for their wickedness, but that shield has finally shattered.
As the investigation into the Golden Crown elders deepened, the council room became a place of mourning. My Crown Gist friends and families, you see, once the fear was lifted, the stories that came out were enough to make a stone cry. One particular file was brought forward, and as the details were read out loud, the atmosphere in the land of the Golden Crown changed forever. It was the story of a woman whose name had been buried by fear for years. She wasn't a queen, and she wasn't a person of high title. She was just a mother trying to secure a future for her children. She had saved every kobo she had to buy a piece of land, believing that the elders were the custodians of truth. She paid them everything. But instead of land, they gave her threats. Instead of a deed, they gave her wahala. The elders took her money and sold the same land to 3 other people. When she went to beg for her money back so she could treat a growing sickness, they turned her away with cold hearts. They told her that if she spoke out, she would be labeled an enemy of the palace and the Golden King. This poor woman died with the weight of that betrayal on her chest. Her family was too scared to even cry out for justice until now. When the council realized that these elders had used the Golden King's name to commit such a crime, the room went cold. They discovered that the family had even approached the Golden King for help years ago, and being a man of mercy, he had helped them financially, thinking it was just a case of bad luck. He never knew that the very men sitting beside him in the palace were the ones who robbed the family blind. The elders had built a wall of lies around the throne. They made sure the truth never reached the Golden King, while they used his authority to squeeze the life out of the common people. The council members were looking at each other in total disbelief. This was no longer just about a plot against Queen Naomi. This was about a systemic rot that had been eating the land of the Golden Crown from the inside out. The weight of this widow's story was the final nail in the coffin. The elders tried to argue. They tried to use cultural language to explain away their greed. They spoke of customs and protocol, but the council wasn't listening anymore. How can you speak of tradition when your hands are stained with the tears of the fatherless? The evidence was documented. Fake signatures, redirected community funds, and intimidating messages sent to those who dared to complain. The council realized that if these men remain in the land of the Golden Crown, no one would ever be safe, not the commoners, and certainly not Queen Naomi or Olori Shadow. They realized that these men were not just elders, they were predators dressed in royal regalia. The decision was becoming clear, but the pain of having to cast out people who once held the staff of authority was visible on every council member's face. The betrayal was deep, and the wound was wide.
The council meeting dragged deep into the night. My crown gist friends and families, you can only imagine the tension inside that sacred hall. The candles were burning low, and the air was so heavy with the weight of judgment that it felt like the walls themselves were leaning in to hear the final verdict. These were not just any men being judged. These were men who knew every corner of the palace, men who understood the secrets of the land of the Golden Crown, and men who had once been trusted by the Golden King himself. Some of the elders on the council were still hesitant. They argued that stripping them of their titles was enough. They said, let us take their beads, let us take their staves, but let them stay as commoners. But others stood firm. They pointed at the files, the fake signatures, and the memory of the woman who died in sorrow. They argued that if these men remained in the land, they would become like a cancer. They would wait in the shadows, plotting their revenge against Queen Naomi and Olori Shadow. They would never stop until they had set the whole palace on fire to cover their tracks. The debate was fierce. If we allow them to stay, one council member shouted, we are telling the world that our tradition can be bought with stolen money. They realized that these men were not just plotting against one person, they were plotting against the entire unit of the palace. They wanted to destabilize the throne so they could continue their illegal businesses. The safety of Queen Naomi became the center of the discussion. Everyone knew that as long as these men had a foothold in the land, the jewel would never be able to sleep with both eyes closed. They examined the history of the land, looking for moments when such a thing had happened before. They looked at the spiritual implications. To banish an elder is to say that the very soil of the land of the Golden Crown rejects their footsteps. It is a spiritual disconnection. They realized that tradition was being used as a weapon by these men, and the only way to save the tradition was to cut off the hand that was wielding the weapon. The council looked at the social banishment that had already started. The men were already broken. They were already walking ghosts. But the council knew that a wounded lion is more dangerous than a dead one. They couldn't leave them halfway. They had to finish the judgment to protect the Golden King and the future of the kingdom. The final vote was taken in total silence. It was not a happy moment. It was a moment of deep, painful necessity. The elders were summoned to hear their fate. The day of the final summons was a day that the land of the Golden Crown would never forget. My crown gist friends and families, there was a strange silence over the palace, the kind of silence that tells you something historic is about to break. The elders were led into the council chamber, but they didn't walk with the pride they used to have. There was no more grand entry, no more people bowing to them. They were just men standing before the law of the land. The verdict was read out calmly, but every word felt like a heavy stone. They were told that their presence in the land of the Golden Crown had become incompatible with justice. The council didn't shout, but the weight of the evidence they presented was enough to crush any spirit. They spoke about the blood of the innocent, the fear they had spread, and the corruption they had brought into sacred spaces where only truth should live. They were told that they would no longer sit, speak, or recite among the people they had betrayed. When the words were spoken, the scene was emotional. Some of these men who were once so powerful began to cry like children. Some denied everything until the very end, their voices shaking with a mixture of anger and terror. Another elder simply collapsed into a deep, heavy silence. The leader, who had already been experiencing the coldness of social banishment, understood immediately. He didn't even try to argue. He knew the ground had shifted beneath him. He knew that the era where he acted as if the land of the golden crown belonged to him was over. They were told clearly, if Queen Naomi returns fully to the palace, she will not find them there to disgrace her, because they will already be gone. The land itself has rejected them. This banishment was not just for revenge, it was a wall built to protect the golden king, Queen Naomi, and Olori's shadow from further wahala. The council has officially closed the chapter on their authority, proving that no one is bigger than the culture and the people. But before we wrap up this intense update, my Crown Gist friends and families, I must give you this very important reminder. Please note that all the information shared in this story is based on alleged reports, rumors, and unverified gists making the rounds on social media. You should not take these details as confirmed facts or official palace news yet. They are the trending conversations and social media rumors within the community. The fall of these elders is a lesson to everyone. Power is a trust, and once you use it to harm the weak, the universe has a way of balancing the scales. Do you think the council was too harsh, or is banishment the only way to truly clean the palace? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next update.